So today we had another weekly Warriors Den live stream, and this week, of course, we get our seasonal event, which brings a new game mode and some new loot. They also talked about some of the data from the testing grounds and talked about Centurion, Warlord, and Gladiator. So there's a lot to talk about in this video. Sorry I haven't uploaded in like a week. I took a break from For Honor for a bit after the mid-season patch so that I wouldn't get too burnt out on the game, and so that I could play a couple other games I released. Anyways, if you're new here, feel free to sub to the channel, and let's not waste any more time and get right into it. Alright, so the new event is here, and as expected, it looks amazing. New weapons for every hero, a new game mode, new effects, new outfits, and a new finisher. The new game mode is pretty interesting. The highlight is that it adds Thor's hammer to the game and gives the player wielding it unique attributes. When you hold the hammer, you can't lock on to targets, you have lower health, but you do have infinite stamina. You are immune to guard breaks, and all of your attacks are unblockable and uninterruptible, and you take no fall damage. You can't block, parry, or dodge, you can only roll, and you can't be parried. On a successful hit, there's a chain lightning effect, and doing a heavy does a ground slam that is an insta-kill and can be used from sprint. Their goal was to make you feel like a god on the field, and I can't wait to try it out. It's played in Breach on this season's new map, Store Stronghold. There are some modifications to the mode though. There's no healing the ram after the first gate. There are also no tickets in Phase 1 and 2. There are tickets that show up in Phase 3, and they're given in proportion to how much health the ram has when you reach the third phase. There are also no respawns based on renown level. All respawns are 20 seconds. I know I'll like this for mid game and late game, as I'll get to respawn 10 seconds earlier than usual. The game mode will only be here for as long as the event is active, so be sure to play it as soon as you can. Be warned though, the sooner you look for games, the more likely you are to find one quickly, as the events playlist in For Honor is always at low activity within a few days of it going live, no matter what the event is. And as with every event, there's a ton of cool gear and whatnot. The weapons of course look amazing. I'm glad that they're not all gold. There's a lot of color going on here and they're pretty fantasy-like, and I'm hoping that during Extra Loot Fest I'll be able to pick up a lot of these weapons. There's also a really cool event effect. I like this one a lot more than the Shadows of the Hitokiri one. It's really nice looking, and we've also got a pretty cool finisher that comes along with the event as well that costs 10,000 steel. It's really unique and has amazing ledging potential. I think this one is almost a must for Jorm. And of course, there's this event's background theme, which is probably my favorite from these events. It really makes me wish that we could unlock these during the events and use these whenever we wanted to. Now onto the testing grounds feedback. They talked about the heroes changes and talked about what they liked and didn't like. They also mentioned that the next time they'll do a fight related testing grounds that they will include custom games, which is really nice. It's something that a lot of us had asked for, as it allows us to test things out on our own instead of trying to see things in the middle of a match. As for heroes, they started off talking about Centurion, and since the Centurion one is like the big one and they had a lot to say, I'll just show you the clip and I'll recap Gladiators and Warlord segments.
All right, let's keep going.
So let's get into it.
All right,
here we go.
Real slides coming up. Centurion. So what do people say on Centurion? So the positive thing, the removal of the cutscene was well received. It was also well received on the Centurion's front. A lot of Centurion players really understood, like, hey, if we give up this thing, we can get the mix-ups to start to work and really have a more healthy and fun character. Yeah. So that was well received across the board. Lights being useful in the chain. Light connecting to jab instead of the old quick throw, which was fairly, well, let's say totally useless, and now is, I think, pretty good. Feintable jab. This was a lot of fun for everybody. Feintable zone attack. These things are working and good to have. Everyone likes this stuff.
Perfect.
So what are the major stuff that we need to fix? Roll away from jab. If you get a light, followed by trying a jab, feint, guard break, opponents can roll this safely. Yeah. This is something that we want to spend time on and try to fix because it needs to work for the mix-up to work. So we're going to work on that. Light jab annoyance. Basically, my current theory is that, like, yes, okay, people don't like being hit, this is always the case
Nobody
in
does.
For Honor or any other game.
In real life as well, I don't like getting hit. So,
Yeah, exactly.
Makes sense.
But maybe it's slightly more annoying than necessary right now because the jab does confirm the light. So does the jab need to stun? This is a bit of a question mark right now for us. But this is what we're considering. Wall splat doesn't always guarantee charge heavy. It does at certain distances, but it doesn't at other distances. If you're too close to the wall, it's worse than being slightly further, blah, blah, blah. We would like that to connect more comfortably for everybody. We also don't want to introduce unwanted connections, like more things suddenly being connected, guaranteed.
Guaranteed, yeah.
So it's something we want to solve, but the solution is going to take a bit of time. Lion's Roar, we also saw it. So this is guard break, light, punch, punch, punch thing. The stamina had a bit of, like it wasn't pausing kind of the way we might expect. We would like to see that working. And then Haymaker applied at sometimes, not at other times. We've got some bugs with that, so we want to work that out. At the same time, we would like Haymaker maybe not to be 30 damage plus wall splat plus charge heavy for 60 damage or whatever, killing off people back in the two kind of punish scenario that Centurions used to live in. So to solve this, also going to take some time, but these are the four that I think we're going to spend our time on.
Nice.
Okay, so finally, a couple other small topics on the Centurion. Well, not small topics, but topics. These are question marks that we see come up again and again in the surveys. Parry punish. Some Centurions were very worried, like, hey, if I can't get a heavy all the time after every kind of parry, that feels like a nerf. I agree, it does feel like a nerf, but at the same time, I think bringing down to light or zone attack damage off a heavy parry is probably the right amount of damage for a heavy parry, rather than guaranteeing a heavy. You can do some wall splat shenanigans with your X parry, so maybe that's a way to get slightly higher damage. But I think that's probably healthier for the game if we're looking at these kind of values. So I don't think we'll change it.
Nice.
Guard break vulnerability of heavy. In the testing grounds, we have it at 400 ms instead of 100 ms. I think around that value is the right amount. We wanted to change it because, it removes one of the option selects in the game. I think this value will be okay. I think because you can feint the heavy, you're going to be okay. I'd much rather we be talking in these values than 100 ms. And finally, Eagle Talon damage. We saw some people saying like maybe it's a bit too high at 45. It used to be 35 on live.
Okay.
I'm not sure what we'll do in this case. Might be nothing. Might change. Don't know.
Just go halfway. Go forward.
Halfway? Is it the right value though?
Simple as that.
It's always that simple, isn't it?
I just want to say I am not a designer.
I don't know. But basically, when we look at this stuff, so we'll keep the good stuff. We want to work on the stuff to fix. The other probably will either stay exactly the same as you saw in the testing grounds, or minor edits maybe on damage. We'll see.
Perfect. So other is another way of saying minor tweaks, potentially, right?
Well, I'm definitely want to say no on the parry punish,
Okay.
for example, and the guard break vulnerability.
I see.
So I don't want your hopes up, but I want to be clear that we've heard you on this one.
Perfect. Awesome.
And then the other thing I want to make super clear on the Centurion, when it comes to that soon versus developer soon topic, definitely to go through these changes, make sure we test them properly, don't introduce loops or infinites or anything like that. It's going to take some time. It's going to be sometime after year 3, season 4. It's not going to be a launch. So
Fair enough. Transparency, ladies and
there
gentlemen.
you go. You were transparent with us. Now we're transparent with you.
Here we go.
I do want to say that I really like the way that they address these things. It seems like they heard a lot of the things we talked about and actually looked at the feedback. Even things like punishes and the amount of damage Eagle's Talon does. They also mentioned the guard break vulnerability on the heavy and how they wanted to remove another option select in the game. Sure, some things aren't being changed that we may have wanted to see, but at least they addressed them. Now on the Gladiator and Warlord, they didn't say too much about these heroes. For Gladiator, they did mention that they like the reflex guard, they like the faster toe stab against out of stamina opponents, the faster lights, and the better skewer. They mentioned that They want to work on the out of stamina toe stab follow-up. So as you may remember, you could get a heavy after you got a toe stab on an opponent if you didn't switch your guard. It sounds like they want to change this and allow a heavy to land even after a guard switch, which would just be nice for everyone. They're also looking into whether toe stab is too unsafe. They're thinking they may want to leave it as it is though. And they're going to stick with the 500 millisecond side lights instead of moving them down to 466 milliseconds. One more thing, they don't want to make deflect beat uninterruptible stance. This has been a conversation I've seen going on for a bit. There are some people who want deflect follow-ups to beat hyper armor, and there are some people that think a deflect shouldn't beat everything, so you should just parry. In this case, it looks like UB wants you to parry, so that's what we're going to have to work with. And for Warlord, not much to say. It seems like they like the way the changes are looking, and there won't really be anything else changing with him, which I mean is fine. No one should dislike any of the changes coming to Warlord, as they're all buffs and they make Warlord better. Would I have liked to see a bit more? Absolutely, but I'm not going to be too pressed about it, as I actually really did enjoy using Warlord during the testing grounds. And to finish things off, they did mention the colors again. With the mid-season patch, they added and moved color swaps to the attackers and defender palettes, while moving some to neutral only. And after reading the feedback, they're going to revert the changes so that they can readdress the colors. This just makes me wish that we could get the ability to just choose our own colors at this point. They also mentioned the For Honor referral program, which grants players rewards for getting their friends into playing For Honor on PC. There are a bunch of rewards, and I'll leave a link in the description so that you can check them out for yourself. And finally, on October 3rd and 4th, they're giving everyone access to spectator mode as a stress test to see how it all plays out and how it performs. And that was about it for this week's Warriors Den, and that's all I've got for this video. A lot going on this week. The event's going on for 2 weeks, so be sure to get as much gear as you can. By the time the event ends, it'll be just about Halloween time, so we'll have that event as well, which should fit in just fine with this Dark Year, the Harbinger thing they've got going on. As usual though, I do want to hear from you guys, so be sure to talk to me down in the comments about anything we talked about in this video. And as always, if you like the video, feel free to leave a like and sub if you're new, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.